The twin suns of Sol Prime, Solus Aurea and Solus Argentum, sank beneath the horizon, in a riot of crimson and frost-blue light. Stretching along the horizon, the glass and steel domes of New Brussels glowed like a constellation come to Earth, their surfaces carved with spires and ringed by orbital transit tubes. Below, skycars hummed through controlled airways, their luminescent contrails weaving patterns across the dusky sky. It was a city built on promise, on the hope that humanity could stand united against whatever lay beyond the void. Inside the vaulted council hall of the United Earth Consortium, anticipation crackled in the air. More than a century had passed since first contact with the Galactic Empire, a sprawling polity whose tendrils crept cautiously but insistently into human space. Peaceful overtures had given way to uneasy truces, and truces had dissolved into trade embargoes, then diplomatic standoffs. The last 7 years had seen escalating incidents. Unarmed transports harassed at the Oort Gate, mining colonies on Ceres forced to redirect precious helium-3 shipments to Imperial off-world stations, and whispers of covert research into spatial phase weaponry. Tonight was to be the culmination of those efforts, a final, irrevocable decision. High Chancellor Aisha Moreno stood at the central dais, her silver robes catching the fading light streaming through the dome's crystalline lattice. In her mid-40s, Moreno's reputation was of steely resolve balanced with compassion. She had once been a field medic on Titan, tending to methane burn victims, before rising through the political ranks on her unwavering commitment to Earth's autonomy. The vast chamber hushed as the giant holoscreen behind her flickered to life, projecting a holographic globe wrapped in orbital defense grids. Every nation that still remembered Earth's turbulent 20th century was represented here. Remnants of the North American Federation, the Pan-Asian Collective, the United African Dominions, and more. Even small states like the Martian Free Republic and the Ganymedean Cooperative held seats, each with one vote. Aisha inhaled deeply, recalling the heated debates that had raged for months. Some argued for continued negotiation, hoping to find a diplomatic solution. Others, particularly fourth-generation colonists on Mars and Titan, pressed for a show of force. Every poll, every report, every prediction pointed one way: humanity must close its doors. By unanimous vote of the United Earth Consortium, Chancellor Moreno's voice rang out, amplified and unwavering. Earth hereby seals its borders. No starship, shuttle, probe, nor transmission originating from any entity under Galactic Empire jurisdiction shall be permitted to enter Sol space, effective immediately. All hyperspace relays tied to Imperial frequencies are deactivated. Defense satellites will intercept and repel unauthorized vessels. This council declares the blockade now in force. A ripple of solemn applause followed, but the mood was tense liberation laced with apprehension. For a moment, New Brussels itself seemed to hold its breath. Outside the council hall, the news spread like wildfire. Holo banners unfurled across Plaza Moreno, splashing the words Earth United, borders closed, in brilliant gold. Crowds gathered, street orders preached solidarity. Citizens brandished flags of every human nation, tears of relief mingling with cheers of triumph. But not all rejoiced. On a side street, a small cluster of protesters held signs reading, "Isolation is not strength, and trade, not walls." Security drones hovered overhead, their servos whirring, ready to enforce the new decree. High above Earth's surface, at the Lunar Defense Base Selene 1, Admiral Kento Reyes watched the celebrations via live feed on his command console. His quarters overlooked the vast plains of frozen regolith, dotted with solar farms and missile silos. Reyes's face was a study in granite calm, but his dark eyes betrayed worry. Once the youngest fleet commander in consortium history, he had spent a lifetime preparing for this moment. Yet he knew that closing the door was only half the battle. On the adjacent console, Lieutenant Ilana Cho, Reyes's chief tactical officer, tapped through sensor logs. Lines of code scrolled past in green streams as she cross-referenced incoming transponder pings against the newly erected no-fly list. "Sir," she said, voice steady but urgent, "all our hyperspace gates report offline. Relays are locked. Defense satellites are on high alert and scanning the perimeter. Good, Reyes replied, nodding. Bring every dreadnought into formation around Lagrange Station. The shields go up at 0000 hours local. From there, we'll rotate patrol loops out to the Oort boundary. He turned to regard the holographic display, Earth encircled by concentric rings of warships, like planetary rings made of steel and particle beams. But let's not pretend this ends here. He murmured. Alana frowned. Sir, signs point to the Empire pushing harder. They won't simply abandon their interests in the Kuiper Belt or the asteroid colonies. We'll have to be ready. Back on Earth, in the subterranean data vaults beneath New Brussels, a small team of quantum defense engineers huddled around. A particle accelerator prototype, Dr. Suresh Patel, the lead scientist of the Quantum Defense Initiative, was calibrating the device's phase shift output. Minute fluctuations in tachyon resonance were measured in nanoseconds. There, Suresh whispered, watching the readouts. We've boosted the containment field by 12%. If the Empire tries to use phase shift warheads, our deflection grid should absorb at least half the energy. His assistant, Lin Zhao, jotted down the figures, but that still leaves a significant residual field. We're not fully protected. Patel nodded gravely. Exactly. That's why Earth's sealed border is a gamble. If their tech is superior, this blockade could be shattered in minutes. On every human colony from the ice caverns of Europa to the glass spires of New Shanghai and Luna. Word of the blockade activated emergency protocols. Trade ships in transit reversed course. Communication satellites bypassed Imperial uplinks. Settlements braced for possible retaliation. At the Martian orbital platform R station, Ambassador Dima Lopez sent one last encrypted message to the Empire's envoy ship. Seconds later, the channel went dark. And then the alarms began. At Selene 1, a dozen kilometers above the lunar surface, sensors flared red. Lieutenant Cho's jaw clenched. Unregistered vessel detected on inbound trajectory. No transponder signal. Velocity and mass match a Type X Imperial cruiser. Reyes strode to Cho's console. Get me a visual. Seconds later, a three-dimensional hologram of the cruiser materialized, a wedge-shaped Leviathan plated in gunmetal gray, its engines thrumming with violet glow. Despite its size, it moved with impossible speed. What's its vector? Reyes asked. Cho's fingers flew. It's evading our point defenses. It warped past the outer ring, blinked inside the belt, and is now decelerating toward low Earth orbit. Impossible, Reyes muttered. We dismantled every active phase relay probe. There should be no link into the blockade grid. His COMM unit buzzed. Sir, launch teams report fire control lock. All batteries ready to engage. Authorization. Reyes hesitated. The Council's decree was clear. Shoot first, ask questions later. Yet firing on the Empire carried immense risk. He inhaled. Engage target the portside drive. Down on Earth, beneath the neon glow of New Brussels' Central Plaza, the first salvo sliced through the night sky. Anti-satellite missiles briefly lit the heavens as they raced toward the Phantom cruiser. Citizens watched in awe and confusion. A deafening boom echoed across the city when the defense grid detonated an energy shell in orbit. But the cruiser never faltered. In a flash more brilliant than any fireworks display, it vanished. Moments later, its silhouette flickered into existence directly above Luna's sea of tranquility. Concussive force rippled down through the lunar regolith, setting dust clouds drifting into space and sending tremors through Selene 1's walls. Power flickered in the command dome. Report. Reyes barked over the alarms. It's using that spatial phase shift technology, Cho explained. Eyes wide. They're bypassing our sensors by alternating between phases too rapidly for our grids to lock on. They only need a few milliseconds in this phase to warp through. Reyes paced. So prohibition means nothing. Earth may have slammed shut its doors, but the Empire didn't stop entering. Below, Selene 1's warning sirens summoned the base's rapid response teams. Pilots scrambled to their starfighters. Technicians raced to repair the rattled shields. Across human space, every settlement braced for the same nightmare moment, the terrifying realization that the blockade was more spirit than steel. In the council hall, Chancellor Moreno's Chamberlain interrupted the live feed. Chancellor, sensors report a massive energy discharge at Selene 1. Her voice trembled. Moreno's face went pale. She stared at the globe suspended in midair, the bright band of defense satellites now flickering. In and out. Alert, Admiral Reyes. She ordered, voice low but steady. I want every seat of power mobilized. This is no longer a symbolic gesture, this is war, if we let it become one. As the holoscreen went dark, the council hall erupted into panicked debate once more. News of the cruiser's breach spread through the corridors like wildfire. Some delegates called for immediate capitulation, others urged retaliation. But Moreno stood silent, her expression hardening. Outside, the people of Earth looked skyward, wondering how many more Imperial cruisers lurked beyond view. The blockade had been proclaimed, the defenses activated. Yet in that moment of triumph, humanity realized that closing its doors was only the first step in a far more perilous journey. And somewhere in the dark reaches of space, the Empire watched and waited for its next opportunity. To breach the final frontier, the settlement of Nova Sagal lay hidden in the iron-red plains of a world long since claimed by the human mining conglomerate. Surface storms of charged dust danced like ghostly phantoms in the thin atmosphere, illuminated by the pale glow of distant Solus Aurea. Here, on this stark frontier, harmony was a fragile illusion maintained only by the labor of hardened colonists and the promise of profit from the planet's rich mineral veins. No grand domed cities or anti-grav transit tubes, only winding corridors carved into the rock, welding torches sparking like errant fireflies, and the low hum of generators powering the life support clusters. Zara Anauk rose before dawn, running her calloused fingers over the chipped datapad that served as her command console. A former exobotanist exiled from Earth's corporate research stations, she had come to Nova Sagal seeking solitude, only to find herself appointed station manager when the previous overseer vanished under suspicious circumstances. Each morning, she ran through the daily status report: power output, air recycler efficiency, COMM link integrity, everything nominal until today. Her console blinked with an incoming distress beacon from the orbital relay. She frowned, tapping to open the encrypted message. Coordinates, unchecked vectors. She scanned the header. It carried no Imperial signature, but the code was unfamiliar, thin and precise, as though engineered to bypass every firewall simultaneously. The relays. Calms chirped again with a raw, unfiltered transmission. Stand down, Nova Sagal. Imperial Protectorate forces have arrived. Compliance is mandatory. Zara's pulse quickened. She double-checked the sky through the station's viewport. The stars were as they always were until a triangular silhouette slid into view, its edges razor-sharp against the inky backdrop. 3 frigates, each the size of 2 city blocks, glowed with hull plating that absorbed every photon, rendering them as void wings in the gloom. Alarm klaxons erupted throughout the habitat ring. Red warning lights pulsed against the sterile white bulkheads. Zara strapped on her utility belt population registers, stun baton, and a limited supply of prototype plasma charges she'd smuggled from Titan months ago. She gathered her skeleton security team: Cito Romero, a former ex-mercenary with a heart of gold; Lin Dao, the station's chief engineer, whose curly hair was flecked with welding soot; and Tomas Echeverria, a soft-spoken medic whose steady hands belied the fear he carried for the station's fragile patients. Together, they rode the personnel tram to the primary airlock. Outside, the 3 frigates floated without atmospheric shields, their landing craft tethered like giant spiders descending to the scarred surface. A channel opened on Zara's comm link. Station Manager Anauk intoned a cold, metallic voice. I am Commander Orlana Voss of the Galactic Empire. We wish only to ensure your prosperity and security. Prepare for registration and resource integration. Resistance will be met with force. Cito bristled. Security protocols require proof of diplomatic clearance. You have none. On the hull plating, energy pulses shimmered as Voss's frigate calibrated its particle cannons. Lin's voice crackled over the comm. They're charging weapons. If we delay, they'll flatten the station. Zara held up a hand. Listen to me. We can't win a firefight, but we have leverage. Our ore yield cobalt, iridium, palladium is vital to fuel their military engines. If we delay registration negotiations, Earth's supreme fleet will catch wind and come to our aid. Commander Voss's voice paused, the silence punctuated by distant generator thumps. Your defiance is recorded. Proceed to airlock Delta 3. With your counsel, compliance or elimination. You have 60 seconds, Zara exhaled sharply. We'll comply. Within minutes, the station's makeshift council comprised of colony elders, trade delegates, and union stewards filed into the decontamination chamber. Zara watched each face, hope and fear warring in their eyes. She knew that compliance and imperial lexicon rarely ended peacefully. Once under protectorate rule, local governors were often replaced, taxes quadrupled, and dissenters vanished into labor camps. Remember, she told them quietly, we're negotiating from a position of scarcity. They need us more than we need them. Let's not give them any reason to resort to violence. The airlock doors hissed open, revealing a squad of chrome-armored troopers under the looming shadow of Voss's frigate. Commander Voss emerged, her eye patch gleaming red under the station's lights. She was tall, with angular features sculpted by genetic engineering, and carried herself with the calm assurance of a predator that had never missed its mark. Welcome, Nova Sagal, Voss said, her tone measured. We will now begin processing your resources. You will provide quarterly quotas, deliverable to any Imperial depot. In exchange, we shall maintain your colonists' safety and integrate you into our protection trade network. You will register every adult resident within 12 hours. Zara stepped forward. What of our leadership? Will our council remain intact? Voss inclined her head. Your council may advise, but it will no longer govern. An Imperial prefect will oversee all major decisions. Any attempt to sabotage the Protectorate will be met with judicial proceedings. In the Imperial Tribunal, a murmur rippled through the council. Tomas swallowed. Judicial proceedings, synthetic tribunals. Voss explained, guaranteed swift, impartial justice. Traitors will be reassigned to labor cohorts on Ethon Prime. Lynn slammed, her fist against a support rail. You're going to enslave us. Protection has its price. Voss replied, sign here. Commander Voss extended a data slate piping with a holographic contract. Zara glanced at the floating text binding. Arbitration clauses, resource tariffs, extradition agreements, all designed to strip Nova Sagal of sovereignty. She bit her lip, stalling. Behind her, Ceto's tempered voice quivered. We can't sign this. Voss's hand tightened on her sidearm. Then we will sign for you. Two troopers advanced. Zara weighed her options. Spark a firefight she couldn't win, or buy time for a desperate plan. She seized the data slate. I accept these terms, provisionally, under the condition that the first shipment be delayed by 72 hours, to allow for ecological inspection. Voss's eyebrow arched. Inspection? You think the Empire cares about ecology? Zara held her. Glare, our planet's storms have been known to damage or quality. If you want purity guarantees, you'll comply. Voss studied her for a long, tense moment. Then she tapped the slate. Accepted. 3-day delay begins now. Failure to deliver will nullify all protections. The troopers retracted. The data slate vanished. And Voss turned to her officers. Begin M-Class survey and prepare drop pods for resource evacuation. I want full exploitation in 72 hours. As the frigate's docking clamps disengaged and its landing craft peeled away, Zara exhaled in relief. She'd bought her people time, but at great cost. Outside the viewport, half the settlements or depots lay vulnerable, waiting to be stripped of every precious ton of mineral that night. In the cramped quarters of the mining tunnels, Zara convened her clandestine cafe. She'd installed a holoprojector in a forgotten maintenance bay, repurposing rusted tables and barrels into seats. The map of Nova Sagal's distribution network glowed above the table. Red markers indicating Imperial control points. Around her sat the core of the rebellion. Ceto, Lynn, Tomas, and a dozen others, miners, engineers, traitors drawn by fear and resolve. Each wore a patched uniform. Crimson armbands marked them as resistors. We have 72 hours, Zara began. In that time, they'll survey, seize, and begin transports. If we do nothing, our children will toil under Imperial banners. So here's the plan. She tapped the map. Lynn, you'll create electromagnetic scramblers to disable their survey drones. Ceto, you'll coordinate with the outer mining rigs to sabotage conveyor feeds, jam their machines. Tomas, set up field hospitals near the labor camps, prepare for wounded. And I'll hack the comm relay to loop false coordinates, sending their frigates on wild goose chases. Lin Zhao's eyes glittered. I can rig the scramblers, but I need time and parts. Use the generator from Sector 5, Zara said. They won't notice for a few hours. Ceto leaned in. Where do I find volunteers? Most colonists think we're already doomed. Zara's jaw clenched. Fear's what they need to see. We'll stage a rehearsal raid where they think we've surrendered, then ambush the transport convoy. Give them proof we can fight back. Tomas nodded. Merciful ambush. No fatalities, just enough chaos to spark hope. A low hum began, and the holo map flickered. An encrypted calm burst through Zara's channel. It was Leah Hu, Zara's contact at Earth's Supreme Fleet. The message was brief. Support en route. Fleet departure in T-minus 48 hours. Hold the line. A cheer rose in the bay. Hope surged. Against the cold iron of the frontier, the spark of rebellion burned bright. At dawn on the 71st hour, the settlement lay eerily silent. Nova Sagel's twin moons crusted above the horizon as Lin's scramblers activated, sending pulses that flickered the Imperial survey drones into oblivion. The mining conveyors groaned to a halt, and alarms blared across the depots from the ridge lines. Ceto's teams sprayed holo illusions of rebel fighters, drawing squads of troopers into decoys. In the confusion, Zara slipped onto a transport hover launcher, transmitting false coordinates into the Protectorate's navcom. Below, the real resource pods, heavy with unrefined ore, lifted off and soared toward the eastern canyons away from the actual docking bays. Imperial sirens wailed as their ships scrambled to intercept the phantom convoy. Then, like a string pulled taut, the trap snapped. Rebel fighters emerged from hidden cavern entrances, disabling the first unloading platform with directed plasma bursts. Troopers scrambled. The rebels fired stun rounds, non-lethal but potent, knocking out armored suits and flicking off power circuits. Tomas's field medics rushed in to bandage groaning prisoners. Commander Voss watched the holostream feed from her frigate's command bridge, surprise flashing beneath her eye patch. Deploy suppression teams, she ordered, voice tight. They're not dead yet, they're alive and fighting. But her reinforcements arrived seconds too late. The real convoy, now hundreds of kilometers away, delivered its cargo to a hidden rebel cache. The howl of approaching starfighter engines signaled Leah Hu's fleet escorts entering orbit. On the ground, rebel and Protectorate soldiers faced off, weapons leveled in a tense standoff. Zara stepped between them, raising a hand. Stop, she cried, voice echoing through the chaos. This ends now. The troopers hesitated. Their armor servos clicked. Leah Hu's voice crackled over Zara's comm unit. Zara Nauk, I'm in orbit with Fleet Command. You have 50 clicks of firepower above you. Stand down or we'll clear the skies. Voss peered through the viewport, calculating her odds. Her mission was compromised. Her orders to integrate Nova Sagel nullified by Earth's armada. With a curt nod, she signaled her troops to lower their weapons. Zara exhaled. The adrenaline ebbing. The future of Nova Sagel and perhaps all the frontier worlds had shifted in a single gambit of courage and cunning. As starfighter squadrons streaked across the dusty skies, painting trails of blue and white, she allowed herself a rare smile. In the frontier's vast emptiness, a new light had been ignited, and its glow would guide humanity's next steps into the uncharted void. A hush fell over the council hall as the holoscreen faded from the siege at Selene 1 to the familiar, polished marble of New Brussels' interior. The delegates took their seats amid the frescoed arches, faces grave beneath the ambient glow of starlight filtering through the dome. Outside, the city pulsed with anxious energy. News of Nova Sagel's uprising sent ripples through every human world. Yet inside, a far more insidious current was at work. High Chancellor Aisha Moreno rose, her expression solemn. We meet again under grave circumstances. The Empire has breached our blockade and occupied Nova Sagel. Our frontier colonists fight bravely, But their fate and ours hangs in the balance. She swept her gaze across the assembly. We must decide whether to escalate or to negotiate. General Kento Reyes, his uniform immaculate despite the fatigue etched into his features, stood. Behind him hovered three-dimensional models of dreadnought formations and hyperspace gate networks. Madam Chancellor, with respect, negotiation emboldens the Empire. We have the fleet massed at Lagrange. A coordinated strike could decimate their footholds before they entrench fully. He tapped a console, zooming in on an orbital map of the Kuiper Belt. Their frigates are isolated. Sever their supply lines, and they'll wither. A murmur of approval rose, but Dr. Suresh Patel, seated at a side table of scientific advisors, interjected, killing them won't solve the root problem. Their spatial phase shift technology surpasses our defenses. Any attack on their vessels risks a backlash tearing at spacetime fabric, potentially collapsing our blockade entirely. We need containment protocols, research into counter-phase fields, not outright warfare. The chamber erupted in debate, hawks calling for decisive action, doves begging for caution. Yet none noticed the subtle flicker in the shadows beyond. The grand daze nor the silent figure who slipped away from the crowd. Deep beneath the palace, far from the holographic projectors and public gallery, a secret conclave stirred. In a vault lined with mirrored steel panels, 5 individuals convened around an obsidian table. They wore the insignia of the Ocellus Order, a silvery eye set against a black field. Each bore subtle augmentations, neural interfaces glinting at their temples. Iridescent tattoos shifting beneath their collars. At the head sat Senator Min Tran, a figure of quiet authority. Her voice was measured, each word chosen with surgical precision. "We have accounts of Earth's own fleet preparing an offensive," she said, her eye patch catching the light. "If full-scale war breaks out, billions will die, and our transhumanist agenda will be buried under the ruins of 20th century xenophobia." Across from her, Director Yara Voss of the Quantum Defense Initiative, a different Voss altogether, nodded. "We can't afford to align openly with the Empire, but we can broker secret accords, share our phase field containment breakthroughs, gain access to their hyperspace matrix. Humanity will evolve, slowly transcend its animal origins." A burly man, Marshal Eric Srensen of the Unified Earth Guard, scowled. "You ask me to betray my oath? To hand over our fleet's secrets to the architects of our blockade? This is treason." Min leaned forward, voice low but compelling. "Not betrayal, martial liberation. The Empire's knowledge will supplant nationalism. We will guide humanity into galactic citizenship, unimpeded by petty borders." She let the words hang. "Imagine our order at the helm, no more war, just progress." Srensen's knuckles whitened. But before he could answer, the vault's door sealed with a hiss. A holo projection shimmered into view. Commander Orlana Voss of the Protectorate forces on Nova Segel, eyes cold beneath her metallic armor. "Senator Tran," she said, voice echoing unnaturally, "your terms have been considered by the Imperial High Court. They are acceptable." Min smiled. "Excellent. You will dispatch your negotiators to Earth in 48 hours. Our ambassadors will meet you beyond the Urt Gate." "Understood," the commander replied. "But know this, the Empire is patient. Our patience is greater than your loyalty." The holo winked out. Director Voss glanced at Min. "So the Empire agrees to our scheme. They'll supply phase field schematics. We'll offer them prime Earth resources in return. Nova Segel is the first step soon. Every colony, every city, will fall under this gentle integration." Marshal Srensen rose, towering over the table. "I refuse to perpetrate this. I will expose you." Min's eyes flashed. "If you betray us, Marshal, your mind will be reconfigured. Your children will serve the Empire on Ethon Prime. Choose wisely." Srensen's face twisted in fury, but he said nothing. Outside in the corridors, distant murmurs of debate reached their ears. The council still teetered between war and diplomacy. The Ocellus Order had bought time, and time was all they needed. Back in the council hall, tensions reached a boiling point. Senator Elena Serrano of the Pan-Asian Collective rose, voice quivering with passion. "We cannot trust the Empire. They've proven they'll break treaties and warp through our defenses at will. Our children on Nova Segel bleed while we argue here." Chancellor Moreno pounded her gavel. Order. The chamber fell silent. I share your anger, Senator Serrano. But I also share Dr. Patel's caution. We must not risk a cataclysmic misfire. Nor can we allow this cabal of transhumanists to manipulate us from the shadows. A ripple of surprise passed through the delegates. What cabal? Reyes interjected. Eyebrows raised. Moreno hesitated, eyes scanning the assembly. She keyed her wrist comm. Ilana, status on the leak we detected last night from the consortium mainframe? Lieutenant Cho's voice crackled in her ear. Encrypted channels show data siphoned accelerator blueprints, fleet schematics, hyperspace gate frequencies, traced to a secure node beneath the palace. Moreno turned back to the assembly. It appears someone inside this council is colluding with the Empire. We've identified Ocellus Order operatives, embedded in our highest offices. They've been feeding the Protectorate our secrets, undermining our defense. Gasps echoed. General Reyes slammed his fist on the table. You're saying we've been compromised? That the reason their cruiser got through our blockade was treason? Moreno nodded, grim. Yes. We must root them out swiftly and discreetly. Public revelation would shatter morale and hand the Empire the propaganda victory they crave. Senator Serrano's face hardened. I'll lead the investigation. Sweep the palace. Detain any suspect. No one is above scrutiny. Moreno's gaze settled on Reyes. General, secure the perimeter. Lieutenant Cho and Ambassador Lopez will oversee the detainments. Dr. Patel, prepare a forensic audit of all quantum defense systems. Find every anomaly. So ordered, Earth's security forces mobilized, sweeping the corridors of New Brussels. The palace's hidden vaults were breached. Data nodes were seized. Senators and aides were questioned in soundproof rooms. In the galleries above, delegates whispered fears of civil war and imperial infiltration. But in the mirror-lined vault, Senator Tran watched the security net tighten with detached interest. She tapped her comm interface. Phase 1 is complete. The Empire will soon grant their first terrestrial envoy asylum on Europa Station. Offer them the blueprints, and we ascend to power. She turned to the others. Continue the plan. Let them chase ghosts while we secure the heart of Earth itself. By nightfall, Chancellor Moreno emerged in the council hall once more, face ashen but resolute. Behind her, their holoscreen displayed a list of 15 detention 6 senators, 3 generals' aides, and a cadre of palace servants. Each carried the Ocellus insignia. We have our traitors, Moreno announced. They will stand trial under consortium law. But our work is not done. The Empire still looms at our doorstep. Nova Sagel still cries out for aid. And within our own halls, corruption runs deep. General Reyes stepped forward, hand extended. Chancellor, I stand with you. We'll purge these conspirators and strike at the Empire when the time is right. Dr. Patel placed a hand on Reyes' shoulder. And I will ensure our defenses cannot be subverted again. But first, we must rebuild trust among ourselves and with our colonies. Moreno nodded, drawing a deep breath. Then let this be our new decree. No more shadows. From this moment, all deliberations will be transparent, all alliances declared. Earth will not be swayed by hidden hands, nor will we be cowed by any empire, human or otherwise. As the delegates rose in unified applause, outside the twin suns set behind New Brussels' spires, yet beyond the city's protective dome, the void beckoned its darkness deeper, its threats more tangled than ever. In that hush between heartbeats, humanity realized the true enemy was not a distant empire, but the secrets that festered within their own halls. And as the first stars of night sparked overhead, the real battle for Earth's soul was only just beginning. The void around Lagrange Defense Station glimmered. With the countless lights of Earth's assembled fleet, dreadnoughts formed a lattice of steel and particle shields, screening squadrons of sleek starfighters that danced through the void like mechanical swallows. At the station's core, Admiral Kento Reyes stood on the primary observation deck, arms crossed, eyes locked on the holo-projection hovering before him. Lieutenant Cho, he said quietly. Status? Ilana Cho's fingers flew across her. Console, all ships are in position. Phase field armor is holding at 87% efficiency. Nova Sagel reports. The Protectorate frigates are destabilized, no hyperspace warps detected in their vicinity. Our blockade is solid. Reyes nodded. He tapped the comm cuff at his wrist, opened the channel to Commander Voss. A flicker, and the stern visage of Orlana Voss appeared, eye patch gleaming under the harsh light of her flagship's bridge, thousands of kilometers away. Her own fleet assembled a single battlecruiser backed by supply frigates and landing barges. Admiral Reyes, I trust you received our communiqué. Reyes held her gaze. We did. You've occupied Nova Sagel. You've tested our defenses. Now you've gathered here with your flagships. What are your intentions? Voss's jaw tightened, but her voice was calm. The Empire withdraws its forces from Nova Sagel effective immediately. We propose a temporary ceasefire to negotiate terms of peaceful coexistence. Our protectorate will provide resource charts, phase field schematics, and share navigational data. Firth will secure safe passage for our envoys and research vessels. Across the deck, officers exchanged curious glances. Voss's offer echoed Zara Anauk's demands, but now carried the weight of imperial authority. If accepted, it could end the frontier crisis, yet Earth's sovereignty, once so fiercely defended, felt at risk of dilution. Reyes exhaled. Under council mandate, I cannot agree to any terms without explicit instruction. Approximate time to council vote. 2 hours, Voss replied. Longer, and we may resume hostilities. Reyes tapped his comm. Relay to Chancellor Moreno. 2 hours to decide. Stand by for her orders. He turned to Ilana. Patch me through to New Brussels. On Nova Sagel's dusty plains, Zara Anauk surveyed the battered depot where colonists freed from imperial labor camps gathered. Lin Zhao and Cito Romero organized medical triage, while Tomas Echeverria distributed emergency rations. Refugees, huddled beneath half-crushed cargo containers, eyes haunted by days of forced labor and gunfire. Zara's comm crackled. Zara, this is who. You're clear to link into Earth's council feed. She tapped her implant. Instantly, the floating spires of New Brussels materialized before her. Chancellor Moreno stood in the council hall, flanked by General Reyes and Dr. Patel. 15 delegates leaned in towards the telepresence circle. Chancellor Moreno, Zara began. Voice steady. Our people stand free. The Protectorate offers ceasefire and talks. We urge you to accept Nova Sagel's liberation. Cannot come at the cost of endless war. Moreno's silver-streaked hair caught the holo light. Zara Anauk, your bravery is beyond measure. But some factions in this council, hearts still hardened by fear, demand we strike first. Ask questions later. We must ensure no hidden treachery remains. She gestured to Dr. Patel. Status on defense grid integrity. Patel's hologram shimmered. We've rooted out the Ocellus Order's embedded code in our quantum defenses. Remaining nodes are secure. If the Empire resumes phase shift attacks, our shields will hold at least long enough for negotiations. A murmur of relief rippled through the delegates. Senator Elena Serrano pounded her fist on the table. Then let us vote. Peace through. Strength is still a victory. I move we accept the Protectorate's terms. The vote lights blinked. After a moment, the tally finalized. 8 in favor, 5 against, for abstentions. Moreno exhaled. The motion carries. Inform Commander Voss. Earth accepts ceasefire and will dispatch 3 envoys to the neutral station. Beyond the Urt Gate. Escort them under minimal guard. No weapons salvo will be fired. Zara smiled as the feed cut. Behind her, colonists began, cheering their home worlds might yet be safe. Back at Lagrange, Reyes sank into the captain's chair. Ceasefire, he murmured. Round him, officers tapped consoles, locking weapons offline and sending courtesy signals to Voss's fleet. Yet in the far corner, his tactical officer frowned. Sir, I'm picking up an unauthorized transmission, strong signal jamming our outbound channels. Reyes's jaw tightened. Trace it. Seconds later, Ilana's voice cut through. It's coming from the Helios Array, our own orbital satellite. Frequency matches code signatures we flagged as Ocellus. Reyes sat forward. They're trying to sabotage the ceasefire, block our transmission so we can't confirm the truce. Prepare countermeasures, reroute comms via encrypted quantum entanglement. A tense minute passed as technicians rerouted the channels. On the observation deck, the holo projection flickered. Instead of Voss's surrender message, A garbled feed displayed a fabricated imperial demand for total Earth capitulation. Some junior officers gasped. The abort codes already transmitted threatened to relaunch anti-ship batteries. Reyes roared, slamming a fist on the console. Lieutenant Cho override manual. We need direct uplink to Moreno. Ilana's fingers danced, bypassing the jammers, and locked in. Chancellor, we have an emergency correction. The ceasefire stands. Repeat, ceasefire stands. Moments later, the true message replaced the falsified one. A collective sigh of relief rose from the crew. Against sabotage and deceit, Earth had upheld its honor. At the neutral space station Orion's Gate, 3 sleek shuttles descended to the central docking hub, one bearing Earth's envoys, one the Protectorate's delegation, and a third carrying a squad of Nova Sagal dignitaries. The station, a hollowed comet nucleus retrofitted with alloys and grav plants, hummed with tense anticipation. In the Grand Council chamber, ringed by zero-G observation decks, Chancellor Moreno, Zeranauk, and Commander Voss took their places behind their respective lecterns. Gold-clad delegates from both sides watched in silence. Moreno began, "We come here not as conqueror and conquered, but as neighbors seeking a lasting peace. Earth honors Nova Sagal's right to self-governance. The Protectorate honors Earth's sovereignty." She paused. "Let this treaty bind us in mutual respect." Voss inclined her head. "The Empire withdraws its Protectorate arms from all human colonies. In return, Earth will share select scientific research phase field countermeasures, hyperspace gate blueprints, and grant Empire vessels safe passage on scheduled routes." She smiled faintly. "No more blindsiding each other in the dark." Zera stepped forward. "Nova Sagal requests a special clause, free trade rights restored within 12 solar months, and reparations for labor abuses. Our planet's people must resume life without imperial burden." Voss nodded. "Agreed." She turned to Moreno. "Are these terms acceptable?" Moreno consulted her calm. "Council vote confirms. We accept." She extended a hand. Voss clasped it, sealing the pact of Orion's Gate. In the weeks that followed, Nova Sagal's miners returned to their work free of imperial oversight. Earth's blockade transformed into a regulated border accord, with friendly entrants carrying consortium-issued permits. The Ocellus Order's remnants were purged, their members tried and punished for treason. Dr. Patel's quantum shields became standard on every major station, ensuring no future infiltration could disable humanity's defenses from within. Admiral Reyes stood on the observation deck of Lagrange once more, watching squadrons conduct joint exercises with Imperial frigates, maneuvers of solidarity and shared effort. Ilana Cho hovered beside him. "We did it," she said softly. Reyes nodded. "For now. But out there," he gestured to the stars, "the universe is vast and full of unknowns. We've closed one crisis, but who's to say what comes next below?" Earth's domed cities gleamed beneath twin suns, while children in playgrounds chased hollow butterflies that flickered through simulated meadows. On Terra's farthest colonies, Ganymede, Titan, even the dusty plains of Mars, people celebrated the new treaty, hopeful that isolation had given way to cautious collaboration. And somewhere beyond human sight, Orlana Voss's flagship slipped silently away toward the heart of the Empire, bearing news of a stubborn species that refused to remain barred, a frontier reborn through conflict and compromise, and the faint spark of a partnership that might one day light the way to unimagined worlds.